Hi guys, just hoping this is recording. Hello, hello. Oh, hi. I've had a few computer issues, so I've been offline for a few days, but I'm back and I'm answering your questions. So the first question, first cab off the rank is, now the vaccine mandates are kicking in. It means some health workers and some police are leaving their work rather than get vaccinated. So what can you say, really? I mean, I just found out today the leading cause of death for police in the United States is COVID. So they've got to bring this in. You've got to protect the workers, that is the police themselves on the front line. You don't want them going into household situations and everything else being unvaccinated. But let's see what the attitudes are going to be around it. In Australia, we've got the same thing, only the numbers are much smaller. We've got a tiny percentage of police and health workers who are going, no, I believe what Randy the roofer said on Facebook, so therefore I'm not getting vaccinated, right? So I want to know what the reaction's going to be generally across a wide range of industries. So let's see, will they become accepted or not? Will they become accepted? Let's have a look, shall we? Well, I'm pleased to see that happening. Okay, now with this is the argument that goes around in circles. I don't want to be vaccinated because it puts octopus tentacles in your body, it's a tracking device, all this absolute rubbish. We already have total surveillance. I doubt we can have much more surveillance, could be wrong on that, but this is the argument going round and round, refusing to listen to sense, just arguing for the sake of arguing. The Queen of Pentacles, the practical queen. Now, it's interesting she's turned up because she turns up for a lot of teachers and nurses, and she's the one who talks sense. So although I'm sure there are some teachers who are going to be in this too and refuse to be vaccinated, I think people are going to see the sense in it generally. And when the sky doesn't fall in, they'll see that the sun is shining, that this is actually the way forward, right? Because in Australia too, you're not even going to be able to go to a hotel without proof of vaccination. And this is what's coming on stream in a lot of countries. So the sun will shine on the fact that it's not the end of the world. You're not going to convince everybody. Absolutely not. But they're going to realize if you want to do anything, this is the first thing you have to do in order to go to work, in order to keep your kids safe, in order to do basic things. Yeah. So I think, in other words, to sum that up, dear intrepid viewers, most people will realize it's worth doing in the end, but only most. There's still going to be a big fat percentage who choose to live in the Middle Ages. What can you do? If you offered them protection from the plague in 1364 or something, they'll go, no, don't want that. No. What can you say? Rock chewing stupid. You cannot argue with it. You cannot reason with it. And it's sad because people are surrounded by this misinformation. Anyway, that's what I get on that issue. Someone else requested reading on the volcano in the Canary Islands. Is a hunk of land going to break off? and cause a sort of tsunami effect. Let's see. We'll have a little look here. Lots of notes, lots of movements, all right in the end. So let me put it this way. I think we're going to see more seismic eruptions. I've been saying that. The Knight of Cups, who may be the false knight, thinking it's all right, and then there'll still be more ruckus and more upheaval after everyone thinks it's sort of stopped. There will be some follow-up, and that'll be a little bit dramatic. But the Lovers card at the end would suggest it's not going to translate into a tidal wave somewhere else, as I see it. That's only the Canary Islands, mind you. We've got other things to deal with geologically. Okay, my darlings. Now, while I'm giving my cards a mix-up for the big question today, which is America heading for another civil war? In other news, the Yeti has given his video testimony about the 2015 episode, remember, when his head kickers came down and they strong-armed the protesters after he'd badmouthed Mexicans. You know the story. So he gave 4 hours of testimony. Imagine what that was like after a couple of hours, right? The Adderall would have worn off, and God knows what gibberish he would have been coming out with, but it would have all been about, not me, it wasn't me. It was someone with my hair, my face, my voice saying, be violent. It wasn't me though, no. Okay, so let's go now. So the question is, and I got this from a couple of viewers, which is why I've decided to feature it today. Is America heading for another civil war? Let me just check. Okay. Bit more shuffling. Forgive the mumbling. Okay. Is America heading for another civil war? Is America heading for another civil war? Is America heading for another civil war? Let's have a look. Okay. Oh, that should be there, there, there. Sorry, I missed a card. Then coming out. Okay. There's stuff here to unravel. So let me pull the screen up. People are worried about this. Right? It's something that is a concern for people because the usual way of operating, we're all used to politicians being corrupt. We're all used to them being ineffectual. We're all used to them breaking promises. But this is a new dimension altogether, not accepting the result of a democratic election. This is a new dimension. So people are worried, and they're worried because of the role of big money. Or put it this way, this is what they should be worried about as opposed to anything else. This is intergenerational issues we have here. 9 of Cups, the successful much. I'm hearing Reagan. Here's what I think about this issue. I'll go into Here's what I think, intrepid viewers. America's not going into a civil war. It's actually already in one. And I think it started with Reagan, because it was Reagan who convinced the nation, your mum and dad sort of voters, that they didn't need an effective government. No. They only need little government, like rich people, just little government. And he's the one who sent all the jobs offshore. All the manufacturing jobs started to crumble back in the 80s. It was the same when Thatcher was in the UK. So where does that leave the working class? It leaves the working class being bought off with cheap T-shirts, cheap cars, cheap washing machines, cheap everything that you can get because they were made under slave conditions in Asia and not union jobs in the United States. So that was the Civil War, I think, that's still being played out, that people don't realise exactly who was responsible for the situation they're in. It's a weird thing. He was a convincing speaker, right? Even though he had to have cue lines, he was a convincing speaker. It was the death of the support for workers. Now, I'm not blind about unions. I am a union gal, but at the same time, unions are only useful if they're not corrupt. And also, unions only really work well for bigger companies, right? I don't expect a hairdresser who employs 3 other women on a Saturday or something to have to be answerable to union conditions. But you know what? What happened during the Reagan years and every year since? Charlene in Arizona, who runs that hairdresser, pays more tax than Google. How is that right? But it was made all right by Reagan and the apologists for big business. And I'll remind you of the statistic, dear intrepid viewers. Back in the 70s, just prior to Reagan, a CEO would earn 7 times what their factory worker would earn, 7 times. Now it's 300 times. So I think this is the real Civil War. I think that's what we've stumbled on here. It comes under the guise of security. The Four of Wands is about, making things secure. A house has 4 walls for them. So as people were being made more insecure, everyone's on contract work now, even if you're a highly skilled worker or you're an unskilled worker, everyone's on contract. So you can't get a mortgage, you can't get a loan, you can't make life decisions, you can't even go ahead and have children, really, if you think about the cost of that, because there's no job security. But it pretended that there was. This has become the burden for the nation. The real burden is, and I think this is the collective, the King of Pentacles. This is big corporations speaking and feathering their own nest. So in answer to the question, is America heading for a civil war? No, I think you're 40 years into it and you're not alone. Please don't feel that I'm just poking Americans in the face with this. You know how much I love you, intrepid viewers. We've done the same thing. So jobs that used to be jobs for life, whether it was the bank or the post office or whatever, gone. Contract jobs, jobs that used to pay big money and danger money, mining jobs, steel jobs. No, contracted. You now have to go, I'm sure it's the same in the US, but in Australia, you become a subcontractor to some fly-by-night developer. So no one's protecting you. You fall off a scaffold, break your back. Too bad. It's not good enough. This is the real Civil War. It's a civil war on working people. That's how I see it. So keep the comments rolling. Oh. As you were, I want to say we had a troll last week, but the troll has been dealt with. So for those who want a reading from me, you will always hear about it from my lips. and we use email. We don't use WhatsApp or anything else, email. And I am now taking bookings for November. I only like to do a month at a time so I don't become too overwhelmed. So if you want a general reading with me, it's an hour. And if you want a general and a past life reading, that's an hour and a half with me. And I love doing these, and you guys are fantastic. So if you're interested in that, the details will be under this video. Now, one more bit of housekeeping. I just did a video with Linda G and Sheila from Celtic Tarot. And Sheila, I think, is putting that up later tonight or sometime, your time. But for now, that's it. Look after yourselves and do something kind for someone who doesn't look like you. This is my new mantra. Okay. Love you. Ciao, ciao.